It's spooky time!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Hinterkaifeck murders. These are unsolved murders that took place in Germany. They took place on a farmstead that was approximately 1 hour away from Munich. The family who lived in this farmstead was Victoria, a 35-year-old widow, and her two children, Cecilia, who was 7 years old, and her son Joseph, who was 2 years old. Also, there were her two parents who lived on the farm, who were Andreas, the grandfather, and the grandmother Cecilia as well. There was also one maid who it was her first day living on the farm on the night of the murders. Grandpa Andreas had confided in his neighbor a few months before he died that he had been seeing some weird things around the house. He had seen footsteps leading from the forest to his house, but none leading away, and they were perfectly pristine in the snow, but no one claimed their footsteps to be theirs. And he had also heard footsteps from the attic. As well as this, he had seen a brand new magazine in his house that he didn't buy, and no one else in the house bought either, and one of the two farm keys went missing. On top of this, a maid also testified afterward, and was the reason why she quit was because she believed that the house was haunted. She had also heard footsteps in the attic and heard whispers all around her. On April 1st, 1922, the neighbor Lauren Schlitterbauer realized something was amiss with the family living in the house, because their mail started piling up and their daughter Cecilia missed school. Even though the family had missed school, Lauren didn't investigate it at first because he did see smoke coming from the chimney, so he thought the family was just at home, maybe taking a day off. But when the daughter missed school again on the 3rd, he decided to go and investigate. What he found was a disturbing murder scene that nobody should ever see in their lives. The 4 bodies that were found in the farm were beaten bloody. The grandmother died from 7 blows to the head and face. The grandfather also died from blows to the face. His blows were so severe he had bones sticking out of his face. The mother died from blows to the head, and the daughter died from circular gaping wounds in her face. And it seemed like she had lived a bit longer than everyone else because she had also torn her hair out from her skull out of shock or stress or worry. And this seemed to happen while her family was dying or before her family had died. The maid and Joseph were found. The maid was found in her bedroom, mutilated on the floor, but she was covered with a sheet, and Joseph was found in his crib covered with his mother's dress. So the killer took time to cover everyone's bodies either with hay or sheets or clothes, which is a little strange. The weirdest thing about this case is that because the former maid had said the house was haunted and she left early, and everyone heard voices and footsteps in the attics, it's assumed that the killer lived with the family 6 months before he murdered them, and then he departed 4 days after he had murdered them. So in between the time before killing them and after them, he had lived with the family, casually eating food, not caring about anything at all. Another weird thing about this case is that the skulls of each victim were cut off and sent to a clairvoyant to determine if the skulls would talk. They did not talk, they were silent, so the clairvoyant learned nothing, and then they were sent to a museum. But this museum was raided in World War II, and so the skulls were never found, leaving the family to be buried without their heads. Also, the farmhouse that they lived in was destroyed a year later, and all the evidence with it. So it was turned into a memorial for the family and the maid. But it's a little weird that a year after the case, in 1923, they decided to destroy the whole house and create a memorial even though the case was still unsolved. There were over 100 suspects in this case, and the last suspect I think was in 1985. So this case happened in 1922, so you can see that they investigated a lot of people and they still never found their answer. One of these suspects was the neighbor Lawrence, who was the one who found their bodies. They suspected him because he was very friendly with Victoria. It was said that they had had a previous relationship, but Andreas, the grandfather, made them cut it off. And Joseph, whose lineage was unsure, everyone knew that Victoria was his mother, nobody knew who his father was. Victoria and Lawrence referred to the son Joseph as their son. So Lawrence could have been the father, and he could have just killed everyone in the family. Who knows? Lawrence was also suspected because he was very calm when he was handling the bodies. He wasn't distraught, he wasn't excited, and it could have been because of the shock, which everyone reacts differently in this situation, so it's completely understandable, but that is just part of the reason why he was a suspect, which he was never charged, so if he didn't do it, then good.
You, sir, we expect you.
But why?
Because you found the bodies first. And you and Victoria had a little thing going on.
Yeah, we liked each other. Why would I kill our whole family?
You're right.
Another suspect was the grandfather who died, Andreas, because in 1915 both Victoria and Andreas had been jailed for an incestual relationship, and everyone had talked about this in the village. It was rumored about, and they did go to jail for it, so there did seem to be pretty solid proof that they had an ancestral relationship, and maybe he got jealous. Maybe Joseph was his son and not the son of Victoria's previous husband who died in World War II.
You, sir, we suspect you.
This leads to the next suspect, who is Victoria's ex-husband, and it is ex-husband because he died in World War I 10 years before, but it is said that he maybe didn't die, and he came home and he saw that Victoria had a child, and so she was sleeping with other men, and he got really jealous and in a fury killed the whole family. But this was dismissed because it was said that he died 10 years before in World War I. They never charged a suspect ever. They had 100 suspects, but they never charged any of them, and the murder weapon was said to have been a mattock, which is kind of like a pickaxe. Some of the theories are that the killer lured the victims into the farm one by one, which was where the 4 members of the family had died and were covered with hay, and the daughter appeared to be one of the last ones or watched her other family members die around her. The police have also said, and various websites have also said, that the police have a theory, but they would not release it to the public because it theorizes a suspect did this, but they won't release the suspect's name because he is dead and they didn't want to hurt the family's feelings.